Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Investing Across Borders, where we teach you how to invest, live, work, and play across borders. I'm your host, Lauren Cohen, international legal and real estate expert. I am originally from the glorious city of Toronto, which is very cold right now, and I now am lucky enough to be living and serving clients from South Florida, which is actually how I know our special guest today, Bob Burg. I have known Bob for about 20 years, almost since I came back down to Florida. I remember we met at the Cheesecake Factory, and he had just come out with this little book that became a huge movement called The Go-Giver. Bob, say hello, just briefly introduce yourself, and then I'll give some accolades about how amazing you are.
Well, hi, everybody, and hi, Lauren. And, it is cold in Toronto right now, I'm sure. We're both in South Florida right now, but I would gladly buy you a cup of Tim Hortons coffee, and I would have my Dunkin' coffee, and we could have an international coffee toast.
Oh, I miss Tim Hortons so much.
Well, that's what I always used to get as soon as I got off got off the plane in Canada, where regardless of the city, I would just head right for the local Tim's. Of course, it was usually in the airport, and so I'd often
I have goosebumps.
I loved Tim's. I'm a Dunkin' person. I grew up in the Boston area, and that's sort of Dunkin' Mecca. That's where they started, and so I love my Dunkin' coffee. But my second favorite was always Tim's.
Oh, thank you. And it's true. It's funny. I last year around this time posted a picture of me with the Tim Hortons cup and the Canadian flag on the little cover. So I miss my Timmies so much. And I actually ordered some from Amazon, but it's not the same as going in and grabbing that coffee. But
no,
right now, pardon me?
It never is. It's
never
quite the same as the ambience of going in there, and it just tastes different a little bit. And,
It does. So Bob, you are in the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame because you have impacted so many in so many countries. I don't even think we could count them all, with your amazing stories of this little guy, I forget his name, the Go-Giver. What's his name?
Joe was the protagonist in the first book. He was the protege who was mentored by Pindar and a number of other people. Yeah.
So So Bob started.
I've been Joe. Believe me, I've been Joe.
I'm sure. So Bob started his career in sales, and actually is still, like most of us, selling every single day.
Sure,
but he's
absolutely.
teaching a way of selling that is about giving. And that's what makes the difference. It certainly makes a difference for me. Every time that I think about what's in it for me, I reframe my thinking about what can I do for them? How can I serve my clients? Tell us a little bit, Bob, about where that whole concept of the Go-Giver came from.
Yeah, and it's important to know, I think, that when we talk about reframing from getting to giving, not only is that a more pleasant way of conducting business, but it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. There's nothing self-sacrificial about taking your focus off of yourself and placing it on your customer, because let's face it, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet.
Correct.
Right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, or because you have a mortgage payment to make, or because you have employees to pay, or because you have anything else, or even because you're a really nice person. They're going to do business with you. They're going to buy from you only because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And when you think about it, that's the only reason anyone should buy from you or from me or from anyone else. So that person who can take their focus off themselves and place it on bringing immense value to others, helping people solve their challenges, helping make life better for others. Well, that's the person who people feel good about, who people want to get to know, who they like, who they trust, whose life they want to be a part of, who they want to be in relationship with, who they want to buy from and refer to. So it's really important to understand this is the only way to really consistently and sustainably have a profitable and fulfilling business.
I think that the fulfilling part is the part that way too many people forget about. They're only focused on the profit, and they're not focused on the fulfillment. And money is never going to fulfill you. It can give you, it can get you from point A to point Z or Z if you're Canadian. It can help you to accomplish goals. It can give you options, but it's not going to give you fulfillment. The fulfillment is going to come from the giving, from the impact, from the helping, right?
Yeah, but I'd also say this, it's not an either or. It's not you're either fulfilled or you're profitable. I
Right.
think that's just as dangerous as just going for the money. I think it's also it's not healthy to go just for the fulfillment, because if you're not making money, you don't
Right.
have anything fulfilling to work at and to offer people. So I don't think it's an either or. I think what's important is that we focus on the value we're providing another human being and understand the money is the result of that. Okay, that's why John David Mann, my excellent co-author in the series, why we say that money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder to values lightning, which means the focus must be on the value you're providing others. Remember, they're buying for their reasons, not
Yeah.
yours.
Right.
Okay. The focus must be on the value you're providing others. The money is simply a natural result of the value you've provided.
And value is never going to come from you professing how amazing you are.
Right. It's always about the other person. You make a great point. And value is always in the eyes of the beholder,
For
right?
sure.
There's a big difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, this service, this concept, this idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to them that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad that they did, while you make a very healthy profit as well. In fact, in any market-based exchange, there are always two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand.
Because of the value imparted.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's when you're, when you know you're doing that for people, that's when your business is, again, both fulfilling and profitable.
Absolutely. It's funny because one of the questions I asked in the pre-podcast questionnaire is, what do you think is more important, price or value? And generally it comes to when obtaining professional advice, but really it comes to when obtaining anything, when securing anything, because at the end of the day, you said all things being equal, value by a long shot. And it's true, because you could pay lots and lots of money for something that's overinflated, that has an overinflated value, and actually has no value to the person that you're offering it to or buying it from.
Yeah, the price is inflated. The value is what it is. The value is what the person believes it is.
Yeah.
So a person, if they're going to be happy doing business with you, they have got to feel as though the value they received is greater than the price that they've paid. And this is not just done through the intrinsic value of your product or service, but it's done through the entire experience. It's how you make a person genuinely feel about themselves throughout the process.
100%. You have to I'm very, very customer focused, and I think that it comes through in what I do. And if I weren't, the customer's going to know. People sense when you're just after that dollar every single day.
I think that's usually the case.
So you've been everywhere, all around the world, to 1 million countries, speaking and sharing your amazing story and your books and your series of books. How many books do you have now?
Well, altogether, I have, I think, 11, but there's, I think, about 7 or 8 of them that are still kind of in print and, working, whereas a few of them just kind of never seen again.
So we have The Go-Giver, and then after that, we have a series following that. Tell us what that series is.
Yeah, well, so The Go-Giver is a parable, again, co-authored by John David Mann, and the second book is actually the only one in the series that's not a parable. That's called Go-Givers Sell More, which is actually more of an application-based book on the Go-Giver, taking the Go-Giver principles, the parable, and applying that. Then the third book in the series is the second parable. That's the Go-Giver Leader. And then the fourth book in the series is the third parable, and that is the Go-Giver Influencer.
And I think at the end of the day, that is a perfect word for you. You are definitely an influencer. You influence people, again, we'll come back to, all over the world. So tell us about a couple of your interesting experiences in travel. You mentioned that one of the important things to understand is that not everybody is the same, not every country is the same, and you have to approach people and countries and cultures differently. And a lot of people forget that. Give us a couple of examples, if you would.
Well, I mean, I think people are people, and there are certain elements of human nature, right, that hold across the board. Okay. I think all people want to feel good about themselves. They want to feel respected. They like to be liked. They like to feel as though they're making a contribution. The general psychological characteristics and feelings and behavioral traits of humankind that are just, that covers everyone. There are those. Okay. And people are individuals, and cultures have their own flavors and their own individual aspects. Okay. So I think we have to, while at the same time we understand people are people, we also have to know that when we go into another culture, we need to be respectful, and we need to study that culture to the best we can and make sure that we are acting congruently with their expectations. And I think that's only polite. I think it's only respectful. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything more than that or anything less than that. I think it's that understanding that it's, there are certain aspects, and I'll tell you, and I remember once, and it was a great experience. I was in just outside of Beijing doing a program, and it was for a direct sales company, and it had there were, I think, about 12 different countries there and 10 different interpreters and the whole thing. So you had a mixture. Okay. So you had the Chinese culture, but you also had a number of other countries with people with their own cultures and so forth. And it was a long seminar. I mean, usually I do 1.5 to 2 hour presentations at the most. This was a 6-hour full day event. And for the entire last hour, we did a question and answer for the audience. Okay. So you had all these different countries and all these different languages and all these different people and all these different cultures asking questions. And you know what? The questions they were asking were the exact same ones that they ask in Sweden, that they ask in, I mean, it just, you know what I'm saying? That they ask in Racine, Wisconsin, that they ask in Toronto, Ontario, and everywhere else, same questions. And Kathy, my business partner, who and Lauren, who came with us afterwards, we just kind of were talking about that. And it really got into a conversation about how, you know what? Yes, there are cultures, there are individuals, there are this, but people are people, and we all have the same general issues.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. One thing I remember, and this is about China, I haven't actually been to China, but having done so much work with Chinese investors, is if you go to China and you try to shake someone's hand, well, right now, forget about that. But let's say in the normal world, you don't do that. You present a business card, and with your, holding the card in your 2 hands, and you present it to them. And if you go to shake, it's actually considered rude. So again, as you say, it's about being respectful and understanding that there are cultural differences, and you can't go and maybe speak the same way. I had a gentleman on the show the other day talking about going into Belize, and there's a lot of poverty, so you have to speak at a different level than you would, let's say, in South Florida. You're speaking you're sharing a little bit different message, or maybe sharing it in a different way, so you're not insulting anybody's culture or anything like that. So tell us, 5 laws of success. What are the 5 laws of success that you guys share in your book?
Well, they're the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. Again, the law of value is just making sure that the value, which is, again, always in the eyes of the beholder, is greater than the price they're paying. Okay, so which means we need to be always customer focused, customer centric. It's all about them. It's not about us. Law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So we're not just talking about providing exceptional value to one person, but it's how many lives you impact with that value that equals the amount of money you'll receive. The law of influence says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a martyr or a doormat or self-sacrificial. It simply means you understand that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and that there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus to an other focus, looking to make your win all about the other person's win.
Mm-hmm.
Law number 4, the law of authenticity, says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In this part of the story, one of the mentors, Deborah Davenport, shared that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are indeed all very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true authentic core.
100%.
But when you do, when you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. They do feel as though they know you. They like you. They love you. They trust you. And that's, really when the magic happens. Law number 5 is the law of receptivity, which says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving, which means nothing more than understanding that, yes, you breathe out, but you also have to breathe in. Right? It's not one or the other. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. And the world around us gives us just horribly negative messages regarding prosperity and abundance and money and business. I mean, it's awful, the messages we get about it. And yet I think it's important that we understand that giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. It's not, are you a giver, or a receiver? No, you're a giver and a receiver. But what you know is that the giving comes first. That needs to be the focus. That's a law of life. We sow before we reap, and it needs to come from a genuine place in order to be sustainable. So those are really the 5 laws as they relate to the basic premise.
I think that relates back to, and this is a very pervasive theme throughout COVID, is putting the mask on yourself first and making sure that you also, like you said, are open to receiving, but you also are looking after your needs, because you can't just keep giving without accepting in return.
Sure.
And you need to be open to that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important to understand. Tell me, so where did you come up with this term, the go-giver, which now has become almost like a term of art that everybody knows, or mostly everybody?
Yeah, thank you. Well, that part was pretty easy because I had a book out years ago called Endless Referrals. That was kind of my first big book. And it was a how-to book on how to create those know, like, and trust relationships that we were talking about earlier. And I just, but I'd always wanted to do a business parable, because I'd always read parables and loved them and thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take the basic message of the know, like, and trust and turn that into a parable? So I thought, well, what's the overall essence of a person who's able to quickly and sustainably create these know, like, and trust relationships, making themselves so very successful as they benefit others? And it's that they're always giving, right? They're always going out and they're giving value to others. So coming up with the title, The Go-Giver, was actually pretty easy. But the best thing I did for the book ever was asking John David Mann to be the co-author and the lead writer, because he's, I'm a how-to guy. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3. John is a brilliant storyteller and writer. So it was truly a collaboration.
Yeah. Well, you're all about, I think that you're all about collaboration. And I think that those of us that are about collaboration have been successful over our lives, and also successful during COVID times, because at the end of the day, none of us is an island. And, I've seen some of my colleagues that have those bricks and mortar businesses that have struggled through,
Mm.
and then some that have had a little bit of an online presence, and now they're just doing amazing things and impacting even more people, and looking at the silver lining. And, there's always that silver lining for those of us, especially that are collaborators. And I think that's what separates a successful business owner from somebody who's just successful for a time. So you mentioned the sustainability,
Right.
and sustainability comes from that connection, that willingness to share and help bring value to each other, as opposed to just what's in it for me. And that's about the other focus as well. So
Right, exactly.
Bob, give us a little bit of an idea about like what's next for you.
Well, we have my business partner, Kathy Tajanel, who's absolutely brilliant. She and I have put together an online membership community called the Go-Giver Success Alliance.
Perfect.
So it will be really an international membership site of people who are all living their lives and conducting business the Go-Giver way. And it will be a sense of support for everybody, and we'll all grow together and be there to support each other and rise all the tides.
Cool. That's great. And how do people find that membership?
If they go to burg.com, we'll start to put up the information for it in about a week from the time that you and I are speaking right now.
Yeah.
And if they subscribe to to our emails, which they can do if they scroll down to the bottom of the page, they'll also be notified when it's ready.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, that's definitely something that probably is a product of COVID, because we have now everybody's used to Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no longer an issue now.
It's not an issue. If you haven't been on Zoom, something's up.
Right. Exactly.
So I had to get a blue, what do you call the thing? The blue screen for my computer, because it was hurting my eyes so much. I just put it on yesterday. It's already making a difference. So,
oh, good.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Zoom fatigue is a real thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like my body would not be tired, but my eyes were aching from staring at the screen. There were times when they'd say, "Do you mind if I just turn off my video?" And it looks weird, but Anyway, Bob, it's been a true pleasure. Tell us, obviously we can find you at burg.com, B-U-R-G, but tell us, you're very prominent and proficient at all social media. What's the best way to find you and connect with you?
If they scroll down to the bottom at burg.com, it actually has one of those links to all the various sites,
the social
LinkedIn,
media.
Twitter, and all the, that's Facebook and Instagram. Those are the ones I'm primarily on.
Have you been exposed to Clubhouse?
I was just going to say that Clubhouse as well. In fact, we need to put that link at the bottom of the page now too, because I'm actually on Clubhouse quite a bit now.
Yes. Well, we just recruited an EXP, Grant Cardone, on the weekend through Clubhouse. So the power of Clubhouse. I was just like, why didn't I reach out to him? So it's kind of a big deal, because the real estate is a big part of my life now, but it's exciting. And that like, honestly, I went in there last night. There were a bunch of women talking about commercial real estate. There's some very good value focused groups in there. We're talking about value. Tomorrow there's a cross-border group I'm going to moderate. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. So we're not here to sell Clubhouse, but the reality is, if you're not on Clubhouse, it's like Facebook was all those years ago. You're going to have to be on Clubhouse if you're an influencer and impacting others and want to connect with them. It's really an incredible thing. And you don't have to worry about looking at anything.
Yeah, that's the nicest part of all, isn't it? That it's just totally audio.
Right.
I just love that. You can just sit back there and relax and
close your eyes, have the headphones in, whatever. Bob, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Please stay safe and well. I'm sure I will see you again in person soon. You do give amazing hugs. It's one of the things I miss the most about COVID, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank God that we are safe, and people in Florida are getting vaccines, and it's, I think there's an end in sight, God willing, soon. Thank you again for your time. This is Lauren Cohen with Bob Burg on Investing Across Borders, where we help you navigate your way to invest, live, work, and play across borders. Bob Burg, a truly global speaker in the Hall of Fame. It's a pleasure to have you aboard. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine.
All right. I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.